immediately, Leslie, where are my notes? We are immediately going to recess out of the regular meeting and open the public hearing regarding the 2015 final budget. And Dave O'Leary is going to be presenting this.
The last meeting, we had a presentation on the Metro Parks District. My intention is just to say that there's nothing new from that time, and so what I said before, please use for purposes of this public hearing.
Okay. Okay, and did anyone sign up for public testimony for this issue? No? My fellow board members, do you have any comments?
Looks good.
None for me.
Okay, so at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Have you read the minutes and you're ready for Leslie Ann to read the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, Leslie Ann. Please read the resolution.
2015 Final Budget. Resolution SMPD 12-1214, a resolution of the Shelton Metropolitan Park District adopting the budget for the year ending December 31st, 2015.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt resolution SMPD 12-2012-14?
I would move that we approve resolution SMPD 12-1214, a resolution for the Shelton Metropolitan Park District adopting the budget.
And I second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. And so now we are ready for the consent agenda. Okay, Leslie Ann, please read the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Shelton Metropolitan Park District minutes from meeting of November 3rd, 2014.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we can approve the consent agenda as read.
I would second that.
Okay, I'm assuming there's no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda passes. Old business? It looks like we have none. We do have some new business, and Mark Ziegler is going to tell us about that.
Oh, thank you. Tonight I'm bringing a recommendation for appointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Parks and Recreation. We currently have 3 openings on the committee, and Kathleen McDowell, who's present tonight, has expressed interest in being appointed on the committee. A letter of interest was included in the packet. Kathy has been quite active within the community. I know you've seen her at commission meetings, but also a lot recently with the meetings with the advisory committee that has focused on the dog area at Neelan Park. So she's become quite interested in that, quite active, and luckily enough has expressed interest to serve on the committee. So we get one of those 3 positions filled with your appointment tonight. I am asking for consent tonight as the park board obviously doesn't meet on a regular basis, and we can get Kathy up and running as meeting as soon as possible and put her to work. So with your approval tonight, I'd ask that you appoint Kathleen McDowell, to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for a term ending December 31st of 2017. Again, it's a 3-year term, as all of those are within the advisory committee.
Okay. Do you have any comments or questions?
I think it's great. We always need volunteers. I'm glad you're doing it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
I've got a
rule.
list right here.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So is there a motion?
I move we approve the appointment of Ms. Kathleen McDowell to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
And I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Welcome. Okay.
Is that what we do? We clap?
I think we
Sounds
get
good to
trouble
me.
if we go.
Anytime we can get a volunteer.
Yeah, yeah. Bring your friends. Okay. Dave, is there an administration report?
No report.
Okay. Has anyone signed up for any public comment? Oh, man. All right. So the next regular meeting of the Shelton Metropolitan Park District is January 26th at 1:45 p.m. And this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call the order of the Shelton City Commission meeting, official city meeting to order. And would you please stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? Stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The first item on our agenda is our weekly commission reports, and I will start with Commissioner Moore.
Okay. Tomorrow I have a Housing Coalition meeting. On Wednesday, I will be meeting with Terry Jeffries and other representatives from the county, as well as Dave O'Leary and Mark Ziegler, to talk about the skate park. On Friday, I'll be celebrating Holiday Magic or Festival of Lights downtown. And then on Saturday is the Christmas parade. And on Thursday, on a personal note, I will be celebrating my husband too, hopefully our 38th anniversary. So it's a busy week. And that's it.
All right. Commissioner Olson?
I'm going to attend the county commissioners meeting tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I will be attending Family Court, which was supposed to happen last week, but they've delayed it, and it will be this Thursday. Other than that, that's it.
All right. And
Huh? I'm in the parade,
And
yes. I'm in the
that's right.
garbage truck,
there you go.
in the front.
And tomorrow, I will also be attending the Mason County Commissioners Board meeting, and we will be talking to them about the coalition that we are building and seeing if they wouldn't like to join that coalition. So on Wednesday, I will be traveling to Port Angeles with Dave O'Leary, and we will be also talking to the mayor and their administrator about our coalition activities. Thursday, the family court, I like the drug court and the family court. I may actually show up at that family court, but it kind of depends on what's happening on Thursday. Friday, I will be doing a ribbon cutting. Also, Holiday Magic, first Friday event downtown where we close the streets off, and I'm looking forward to that. It's really an exciting time. If anybody's out there in TV land and you're seeing me, please, this Friday night we close the streets down in downtown Shelton, and our stores are all open late, and we have fire pots we put out in the middle of the street, and the kids are all out, and we have rides, and we do all kinds of fun things. So please, come downtown Shelton this Friday night. It starts around 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So. And then on Saturday, I will also be in the parade. That concludes our weekly commission reports. That's what we're going to be doing. And now we'll open up to general public comment period. If someone would like to speak pertaining to anything about the city's affairs, we welcome that opportunity, and this is your time. So it looks like we have somebody that would like to speak, and that's Kathy McDowell.
Mayor and Commissioners, I got really excited last week when I drove up Northcliffe and saw the LED lights up the street. I don't know how long they've been there. I don't go up Northcliffe that often, but they were beautiful. And I just give thumbs up to the city for starting to replace all those yellow ugly lights that don't do a bit of good except shine a little bit of light, and replace them with LED lights. I just want to say thank you. Very nice. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy, and we appreciate your comments. And I didn't have too much to do with that. I didn't get up there with my screwdriver, but I will take the credit. If credit is due, we'll take the credit. So, all right, next, what we're going to do is we are going to recess out of our regular meeting, and we're going to open up a public hearing at this time. So, the public hearing is going to be about our final budget, 2015 budget, and that's going to be presented to us by our Director of Financial Services, Kathy Byerly, and Dave O'Leary, our city administrator.
I think I'm doing the report, and Kathy will fill in
That sounds fine.
if she feels like she needs to, and she may. So, I'm really this is just by way of an update. We've been through this several times, most recently at the retreat last week. So I just wanted to tell you about some of the changes that are in there for now, and also some suggestions regarding the schedule for adoption. One of the things that we left out deliberately because we didn't have our numbers for it, and that issue has since resolved itself, and that was funding for our update to the comprehensive plan. The request for funding was $48,000 from the Community Development Director. The Finance Committee is suggesting that be 40. There's essentially as we work through the budget, and this happens, you find things that you can use for other purposes, and as we worked our way through it, we did find about $30,000 $22,000 that we could utilize for this. There was also $18,000 in there that is in revenue that accrues from the state, giving us a total of 40. I talked to the department head about this, and he believes he can make it work for that amount of money. Another thing that's changed that's new is that we've had for a number of years, established a strategic reserve balance, that being 8.5% of general fund expenditures. This budget includes a proposal to reduce that to 6.375%. That is in the generalized general fund account. There's also reforms that I'm proposing for the budget process, which should result in a transfer of reserves from the strategic account into individual program accounts. So that we should end up with the same amount of total reserves, give or take, depending on how much we get in the way of savings from our department heads, our departments, and programs. But we need to process a change to the policy that will reduce that from 8.5% down to 6.375. So that's going to take a little time, and I'd like you to wait 2 to 3 weeks to see whether to get that, to prepare that for you. Another thing is that the commissioners are contemplating a change to the frontage improvement standards. And at this point, we need to put in the range of $60,000 into the budget in order to comply with the policies that the commission has established, and the money isn't there. So what we're intending to do next week is have a discussion during the study session that will take on that issue and decide how we should address it. I'm not ready to do that yet, and but we should be ready by next week. So in 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll decide that in the coming days as to what can be done, because I want to be able to put together this information a week ahead of the time that you approve the budget, and maybe I can get it done by next week, or it might take 2, and that will determine whether we would approve the budget in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Other things to bring forward to you in that time, which that also need to be prepared, is a work plan and that we've been working on, and I'd like to present that to you. That the staff, our department heads, have been working on for 2015. Also, the updates of the strategic plan that we discussed in the retreat this past week. And then again, the frontage standards and the changing strategic fund balance for their general fund. I want to say one more thing about that. The intention is to shift over time, about half of the strategic fund into the strategic reserves into programmatic funds. And my intention was to do that a year at a time, rather than try to do it all at once. Was to do it a little at a time. And frankly, moving those reserves into the strategic has also freed up some money to be able to make this budget balance, specifically for one-time expenditures. So we're only going to get to spend that one time as we reduce it. But I think also if we can establish reserves within the programs, we can depend on the programs to take care of themselves more than coming and asking for funding out of the general fund, out of this general fund balance. So that concludes my report. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
First, we have opportunity for any public comment about the budget. This is something that we need to do, and if somebody would like to speak about the budget, now would be the opportunity. You would just sign in, and if there's nobody there, then I think we can go from here and ask if the commission has any questions or comments or any statement about the budget.
I just had one comment, Dave. I can't remember when we did the priority list, where did that land, the frontage improvements surveyings? We didn't make the list, as I remember.
It was actually not on the list. What we did is we said, okay, here are some things that are discretionary, and those are the ones that landed on the program list. There are a variety of other things that were non-discretionary, and since it was policy, it just landed on that upper list. But as we got into it, we said, well, maybe we need to rethink this, and so that's how it ended up in the limbo state that it is. So.
And then again, I had a question about the abatement program that we have. Last year, I think we put $40,000 into that to start that program. And so did we have, exactly what did the budget reflect are we going to do this year?
I believe we've got $50,000 in there for it for the coming year. Very, was it 50,000, Steve? Was it? Yeah. And the reason is because it's been such a popular program, we've been able to actually get a lot done. There's just significant benefits from removing these derelict houses, but it's a lot of money for us.
And again, I guess just to reflect to the public that the idea behind that particular program is as we take houses that are in the neighborhoods that are being left unboarded up and derelict, that as we take possession of those, as we clean up the properties, if we sell the properties, that money, then we're regaining that money to go back into this program. The program has the ability to self-fund itself. And so within a few years, it may be a revolving fund to where we are cleaning our city up and taking care of these things, and the money generated is doing that rather than taking money out of the general fund. And so that's one of the, I think, positive things of that program.
That's one of the justifications for putting this expenditure accrediting it against the one-time revenues as opposed to ongoing. But unless we get some construction started up and some one-time sales taxes coming through, that fund that source is going to dry up too. So it's going to get more challenging.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
No, thank you.
All right. Good work to the Financial Committee, Commissioner Olson, Dave O'Leary, Kathy Byerly, and all the staff. For the budget's a tough time, a lot of work every year, and we appreciate the hard work that you did in putting it together. And so at this point, it looks like we have enough information about this that we can close this public hearing. So we're closing the public hearing at this time, and it appears that we are ready to bring forth and have enough information to support staff's recommendation to bring the 2015 budget ordinance towards the forward to the December 15th meeting under new business for the first and final reading. Thank you. All right, are we ready for a reading of the consent agenda? Could we please have a reading of the consent agenda?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 84621 through 84697 in the amount of $80,932.53. Commission meeting minutes from business meeting of November 17th, 2014, and study session of November 24th, 2014.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The consent agenda passes. At this time, we would like to bring something that was put into old business forward. And it's, our Economic Development Director, Steve Goins, is going to talk to us about this Human Services letter, and also about it's an ordinance concerning, I believe, dumpster diving.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This item was initially advertised for the consent agenda for this meeting. It was put on old business in part to allow further discussion. A member of the community submitted a letter by email on Friday and hand-delivered that letter this morning, also indicating, however, that he wasn't able to attend the meeting and asked that I read his letter into the record. So with your permission, I'll proceed and read this letter
Sure.
into the record. December 1st, 2014. Recently, I read where the Shelton City Commissioners were in the process of implementing an ordinance that would outlaw anyone but the property owners from removing any objects or recyclables from city-owned trash containers. A name was even given. It was called, quotes, dumpster diving. It has been said that this new ordinance will provide the police with another tool to carry out their duties. The new police chief points out that the proposed law is just a tool. He goes on to say that the reality is we are not going to stop this. This information was part of the article in the Shelton Journal. I want to be clear that we do not have a problem that needs to be taken care of. However, it is necessary for a new ordinance to be implemented, which is to be used as a tool, and is not going to stop this problem. It also appears that this ordinance would give the police probable cause to question dumpster divers and perhaps find out if they have a warrant for their arrest or if they are involved in burglaries. Have you asked yourself if using this ordinance in this manner is appropriate? What are the police going to do when they find a dumpster diver? Do they write a ticket which the dumpster diver would not pay? Do they make an arrest and take the person to jail? No doubt the citizens of Mason County will cover the cost for the arrest. How many of these dumpster divers are veterans? Have they just returned from Iraq or Afghanistan? Do they need this type of treatment, or should we be assisting in some other manner? The Journal noted that everyone at the meeting spoke in favor of the code amendment. Why wait 90 days was asked. I would ask that the City Commission extend this decision for 60 to 90 days. This would provide the new police chief the opportunity to review and make his own recommendations, so we do not hear that the reality is this will not work. The way it looks is that the ordinance will be used to determine if there is a warrant out for a person or if they have been involved in a burglary. I'm not sure this was the original intent. Mr. Kevin made a couple of suggestions. A free store was one. Provide him the opportunity to look into his ideas a bit more. Why was the idea of business owners locking the dumpsters a bad one? What was the undue burden? I would also suggest that the Commission look at why this type of issue was not made part of the existing rules and regulations related to the solid waste program in Shelton. Again, I want to point out that we do have a problem. However, I am herein respectfully requesting that the City Commission grant a 60 to 90-day extension on this proposal and give the new police chief and Mr. Kevin the opportunity to explore any ideas they may have and to also look at the possibility of including this issue as part of the solid waste program. I thank you for taking my input on this important matter. Gary Yando. That's all I have.
That's all you have tonight. Okay, well, this item was brought back under old business, and I guess at this point is open for a public comment, and we would love to hear from the public. If there's someone like to come forward, just please sign a name and address, and right here if you want there, Jim, and we will Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you. Yeah, they're doing good, aren't they? Sorry, TV Land people were talking about the Seahawks game there while Jim is signing in. Yeah, I'm a big fan when they're winning. Get mad at them when they lose. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Jim Morrell, 521 West Railroad Avenue. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, it was an honor about a year ago for me to present to you the report of the Poverty Task Force that you had appointed several of us from the community to be a part of. And I wanted to acknowledge that one of the quick hit items is before you tonight for passage of the otherwise known as dumpster diving ordinance. So based on the input from interviews that the Poverty Task Force conducted and multiple surveys, both of the business community and of consumers of the social services network here in the city, we concluded at that time as part of our report that this be a quick hit item that the city consider for passage, and I would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If anybody else would like to speak, please come forward, sign in, and we'd be happy to hear your comments. And just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Melanie Bacala, 821 West Railroad Avenue. I'm coming to you from many fronts. I'm a business owner in downtown. I'm co-president of the Chamber of Commerce, who initially proposed this, I don't know, it was 18 or 24 months ago. Served as a vice chair on the Poverty Task Force along with Mr. Morrell. And I'm also, I believe we're all here committed to a vibrant downtown. We all want to see this area thrive. And just a little history, I think it was 18 months ago, the Chamber brought forward the idea of a dumpster diving ordinance after talking to police. The city tasked the Poverty Task Force to look at that as an option. And as Jim mentioned, it came back as a quick hit, something that the city could do from an action standpoint to start impacting our downtown. Then the city asked the Human Services Committee to consider it. And they came back and said, you know, we think this is a good idea, and I understand. They asked for some time. And then the police department, they want it. I really encourage you guys not to kick this can down the road. We really need to take action, and I know the city's making some commitments and some partnerships to really figure out what our downtown looks like. This is really a small piece, but we need to start taking action to own our downtown. And this doesn't mean that the folks who don't have the means or who are diving, they don't need our help. But we have lots of help. We need to better connect them. We need to figure out how to get them that help. But diving in dumpsters and leaving messes, and they do happen, you know, we need to just start giving the police the tools to start moving Shelton into being a vibrant place. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I invite my fellow commissioners, if they have any questions or comments, they can do them at this time.
This has been a hard one for me. I at first approached it with, you know, you're criminalizing a behavior that, you know, it's a social issue. And last week I was a little more in favor of it because, as Kevin said, it's unhealthy. It's not a good thing to have happening. But on the way here today, I drove past one of our local businesses downtown that attracts this. And outside the back of their store was 3 couches, 4 beds, 2 TVs, a stroller, piles of cardboard, styrofoam strewn around. And we have litter ordinances. You know, why aren't those enforced, and yet we're going to put another ordinance in place? It seems like you're setting the unfortunate people up for fall if we don't control what the stores are putting out there and taking care of their own stuff. If we now pass another ordinance saying we're going to give a citation to people when the stores actually, or this one store actually attracts it and brings it in. So I think part of the conversation needs to happen, how do we work with this store? How do we account for that? How do we accommodate this section of it? I'm for an ordinance to keep people out of the dumpster diving, but I also think that we need to look at how this is operated, and I think everybody knows I'm speaking of Treasures. They're a great asset to the community. What they do for the hospital foundation is great. But that, to me, has got to be part of this conversation. We can't just make another ordinance and say it's illegal to dumpster dive when their business is filling the dumpsters with stuff that these people want. And they're not out there securing them like they should. And I know people dump stuff at night over there. So all this has got to be taken into consideration, I believe. I don't think that just by saying, okay, it's illegal to dumpster dive is not going to solve, as the chief pointed out, it's not going to solve the problem. So I think it needs to be a bigger conversation with store owners downtown. As Mr. Yando pointed out, why is it such a big deal to unlock and lock a dumpster? If that's going to help, let's try it. So I'm kind of ambivalent right now on how I feel about this ordinance with these, like I say, we have a litter ordinance. It's never enforced. And walk down the alleys. There's stuff behind every store laying on the ground. So that's kind of what I have to say right now. I may have some other things to add in a little bit, depending on what other people say.
Yeah, well, this is what we get paid for, so Commissioner Moore, you have some insight on this?
I am in favor of the ordinance. I think it's short and sweet and to the point, and I think that it does belong in the solid waste ordinance as a portion of that. However, this week I have been thinking about the comments that we've received that want us to take more of a look at this. And looking at Mr. Kevin's letter, some of the things, as I said last week, is I don't think we can possibly say what has value, what doesn't have value to each person. So I am in favor of the ordinance, but I am in favor also of more responsibility and some of the items that Mr. Kevin mentioned, such as encouraging dumping, encouraging locking the dumpsters in the areas where it is a real problem. And there were a couple of business owners who spoke that that's really a undue burden. And I can see on the days when there is pickup that someone would have to be there early and unlock. But I'm wondering if we can do something with the schedule that our garbage is picked up to make that more conducive. And also, as far as just, if you're going to stop by your dumpster and put something in it, I mean, you have to go out to the dumpster anyway. So it's more, what I thought was a very, very simple question as far as, do we want to clean up our town and do we want it to be illegal to dumpster dive? 100% it should be illegal to dumpster dive. I think it's a health hazard and a problem, obviously. But I think that there can be, and there is room for a little more action for those of us who have dumpsters in the way of not putting attractive things in them. And that's even, I was glad to see that this is for residential dumpsters too, because quite honestly, I have had people go through my dumpster outside my fence, and it's really sad, and it's not a good thing, and it's not a healthy community that allows people to live from the dumpsters.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Olson. I think a lot of good comments, the people that spoke tonight. Kathy, if you want to talk to this issue, why don't you come up and, yeah, because we're just about ready to wrap
Kathy
this.
McDowell, 326 South Fifth, just down the street about a half a block. Last summer, we had dumpster divers in the apartments' garbages, that big garbage cans and small ones. They were pulling things out, and then the rats were coming, and it was a big mess. And so I got on Eric Burke, and I said, something has to be done here. there's rats running around. People are dumpster diving in these. I'm sitting in my living room watching people come from out here down the street there, and they're making a big mess. So he got on the owners of the apartment buildings, and they put locks on the garbage cans and the dumpsters, and it cut it down to nobody bothered them anymore. And it's a little bit of an inconvenience, yes, on garbage day, but we have to go out and move our garbage out to the curb anyway on garbage day, unlock it. I think the locks would be a little bit of an expense at first, but I think putting another ordinance isn't going to do one bit of good. We have a litter ordinance. How much litter do we see around the city? That doesn't do a bit of good. So I'm for putting locks on the dumpsters, and I think that we could all adjust to it very well. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else like to make any more comments? And then I'll make a comment. Looks like we've exhausted this, 2 years on this subject. I think we've exhausted all the comments that could possibly be made. And I don't think any of them are bad. I actually think really everyone is on the same page here. I really believe that all these ideas are good, but I do support this ordinance. I support it because we had a task force that worked hard at bringing forward a recommendation, and that it's been a year since we moved on. I want to move on this thing. We have a police department that come forward and wrote an ordinance. I want to move forward on this. All the other ideas can be added on top of this. All of the ideas can be added on top. And what I did this morning is what we all do. My wife and I, we took all these blankets, we washed them, we put them in a nice bag, and we took them and we gave them to Love Inc. to help people that don't have blankets. We all do this stuff. We donate to treasures, or we donate to these situations. We all want to help people that don't have bedding or appliances or whatever it might be. We're a helpful community, but all of these other suggestions can be added. A store with free things in it, let's open one up. If somebody wants to lock and unlock their dumpster every single day, they're more than free. They can do that. It's not a law that says they can't do that, so I certainly think that's a good idea if someone wants to do that. But it has nothing to do with whether or not we're going to pass this ordinance. I think this has been talked about 5,000 times, and then when you get to 10,000 times, you go back to all the old arguments, and then you rethink it about 5,000 times more. So all I'm saying is I would really like us to move forward on this and help the poor as we're doing that. So I think if we are ready, I would like to move this forward. If my fellow commissioners feels that we're ready to...
Just repeating my one comment was that, let's enforce the ordinances in place. If we're going to add another ordinance, why aren't we enforcing the litter ordinance? What's the point? We're going to put another ordinance in place. I agree with the ordinance. It makes sense to have this as an ordinance, but I just hate the idea that we're picking and choosing which we enforce. Why are we going to enforce against the homeless, but we're not going to enforce against the businesses? It just doesn't make sense, to put this undue burden on the police to have to choose those things. Are they going to walk around the alleys and, cite the businesses? No, I wouldn't want to do it either. But does that mean you're going to go out and chase the homeless out of the dumpsters now?
So are we ready to then move this forward? I think we appear that we are going to move this forward, aren't we?
Somebody makes a motion, I'm sure.
Yeah. Are we going to, so let's take a look at this and see what we can do here. Is there a motion to, it looks like, I get confused after a while. I guess we need to just, on this one, it looks like, don't we have to have a second reading on this? Yeah. So we need to, at this point, it just says that it's staff's request that we have a second reading and adoption today. So I guess, and that would be for this ordinance 1861-1214. And so I would request a motion to have a second reading on this.
I move that we have a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 1861-1214.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I hope not. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. And remember, please.
You didn't ask if anybody was opposed or anything.
Oh, is anybody opposed?
I had the second reading.
Oh, okay, well, then what we have is we're going to pass it, because Commissioner Moore and I voted yes, and Commissioner Olson opposed it. So, Mr. O'Leary, did you want to weigh in on this?
Just clarification, so our minutes taker can know the result, where there was, Commissioner Olson voted yes and no, so.
I
just
thought he
wanted to
did
know.
say, he made the
He just said
motion.
no, his last one was no, but I want to know that that was a change from the first one and not just, because you did vote yes on the first one.
I thought so.
Thought he did.
He
seconded the motion.
to old business.
Oh, I'm sorry, you seconded the motion.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And forgive me, just for purposes of getting it up, for
Sure.
putting it on. Okay.
And just for a point of order or whatnot, that I'm sure that if the policeman wanted to give somebody a ticket for littering or whatever, they could easily do that. I don't know that they don't do that, so I wouldn't want to, criticize the police for doing something they're doing or not doing. I mean, I don't know the story on what they do if somebody's littering or whatever. I would imagine that they would talk to them if someone's walking down the street throwing garbage on the ground. So I'm here to speak in favor of the police tonight, so.
yeah, I in no way meant that. I'm not referring to garbage on the street. I'm referring to a specific incident taking place in behind Treasures, that it's a dumping site.
I could agree with that.
How are we going to handle that?
Let's get that cleaned up.
Sounds good. Well, moving right along, I seem to have lost my other sheet here, but I think we're getting close to administration report.
New business.
Oh, is there any new business at this time? I do not think so. So what we need is now any other public comment. This is the opportunity, the golden opportunity. And I don't see anybody else that signed in, so now we are into administration report.
No report, but I think I'll move to final touches if you like, Your Honor.
Okay, we can move right to there, please.
Have any touches? Steve?
I noticed on the looking ahead sheet, there was not a date set for a update on the abatement strategy. It was something you talked about in the budget discussion. I was planning on coming back and giving you an update on our progress sometime later in December. Just kind of correlating that to the conversation earlier.
That would be great.
Other touches? Just a touch, either the coming week or the week after that, I'll be back with the report that I addressed earlier in my report to you, so.
All right, very good. Okay, this meeting here is, our next meeting will be next Monday in the afternoon. It'll be a study session at 2 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.